Hey everyone, back with another episode of Three Pete After Me, and today we're lucky enough to have two of the key pitchers from the 2023, the most recent River Dogs championship, Jake Christianson and Trevor Martin, who were both with the River Dogs from start to finish this year, and both pitched in the championship clinching win over Down East in September. They'll talk about their experience in Charleston, how excited they are to get 2024 underway, and they'll talk about some of their teammates in terms of fashion and singing voice. All right, hey gentlemen, how's your off season been? Good to see you guys.
It's been good. Nice seeing you.
Good to see you too.
Obviously, you guys are in different parts of the country right now. We were talking a little bit off camera about this, but Jake, you're dealing with a little bit of snow there in Minnesota. Makes it a little bit more challenging logistically to get to where you need to go, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's currently like -4 degrees outside and a couple feet of snow on the ground, so it's a little brutal. But, still throwing every day and whatnot.
And Trevor, I heard from Jake that you've been golfing plenty. Is the weather a lot better in Oklahoma, or what's the situation there?
Yeah, I've been golfing when I can. The weather in Oklahoma is kind of bipolar. Like you get some days where it's really nice, and then like right now it's 6 degrees and snow on the ground.
Hard to believe we're just a few days away from everybody getting down to Florida, but I'm sure everybody's really excited. Is this kind of the part of the off season where you guys are fired up about getting back into the everyday grind and getting out in the sun and playing baseball again competitively?
Yeah, I'm excited to get down there and get it all started. It'll be fun.
Yeah. In my case, I'm definitely excited to be back in Florida. Baseball for sure. Yeah, it can't come any sooner.
All right, let's get a big topic here out of the way right away, and it's Trevor. And there was sort of a theme at the end of the year where I had to come up with about 6 different names for all the pitchers in the clubhouse, and it all goes back to you in like late June. So I remember Jack Hartman and Matt Wyatt asked somebody what my name was after this has been a couple months in. They didn't know it, and Marcus Johnson goes, dude, what was that about? And I'm like, these guys, like most of these guys don't know my name. I'm there, but they have no reason to call me by name. And Marcus goes, no way. So he goes, the next guy that comes in the room, I'm going to ask him. So you come walking up the steps from the field, and he's like, Trevor, what's his name? And you go, Josh? and like dead serious. And from that point forward, I mean, you look at our text trying to get this ready. I think we called each other Craig, Jamarcus, etc. But that was kind of the theme the rest of the year is we all had to come up with fake names for each other.
Yeah, I was actually just telling my girlfriend about that last night whenever I was replying to your text. But yeah, no, I knew it started with a J.
Which I'll give you credit for that.
And I just went with the first one that popped in my head. I thought I'd be right.
I mean, you were close. That's Josh and Jason are very similar. And I always found it interesting when I find out our roster and then you guys show up. Like, I don't know any of you, but I know way too much about you just from looking at where you went to school, your numbers, where you're from. And it's like an odd thing all the time because you have this expectation like, okay, this is Jake Christianson from Minnesota. This is Trevor Martin from Oklahoma State, like those kind of things. And then you meet him, and it's a completely different type of feeling. So no worries, no hard feelings, but we're probably not going to actually call each other by our real names very often.
No, I think it's going to kind of just become a thing every time we talk. It's just going to be a new one.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask you, and I want Jake's take on this comment that Trevor made as well. I think it was July. We were out at the Run Charlie Run 5K, which ends here at home plate at the stadium, and some of the pitchers were out high-fiving people at the finish line, and Trevor's standing there, and you go, all right, this is what, like 3 miles? Like, this can't be that hard. And I believe you told me that you thought you could probably do it if you trained for like a month in like 15 minutes. AKA a 5-minute mile. Do you remember that? Do you want to change your statement? And then, Jake, I want to know what you think the odds are that he could get that done.
15 minutes might be a little bit of a stretch. Now that I'm
just
thinking about
a little bit.
I'm thinking maybe more like 17, 18. I think that'd be good pace there.
What do you got?
Nah, it's going to be a little bit more than that, Trev.
I know, I'm feeling a 17 or 18. I think I can get it in 17 or 18.
Oh,
17th. I think that third mile might be tougher than you're expecting, you know?
No, if I trained for it, I'd be good.
What is the average? Do you know what in between starts or outings when Mia had you guys out there running, do you know, like, on average what you're running?
I mean, yeah.
Not 3 miles, I can promise you that.
I don't know. No, that's definitely not 3 miles even close.
yeah, we would do the day after starts. We would do like 8 pulls. So I don't know if that.
Whatever that equals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
All
definitely
right.
wasn't 3 miles.
All right, I wanted to talk to you guys about kind of your start and how you ended up in professional baseball. So, Jake, I'll ask you the first question. We talked about you're from the North. It's a little bit tougher to play baseball year-round there. Obviously, there's been advances there in facilities where you do have the ability to do that. But you also went to a pretty notable high school in Minnesota athletically, Cretin-Durham Hall, where Joe Mauer went. So, what are the odds that they need a separate display in the trophy case for you, and maybe it overshadows Joe's at some point?
yeah. I feel like that'd be a difficult one to top a little bit. He had a pretty notable career, but yeah, I mean, my senior year we played 15 games. I remember my senior year in varsity. Paul Molitor went there. It was a little difficult to live up to that Joe Mauer stardom, I guess. You hear the stories of him hitting balls across the street and whatnot, and yeah, maybe someday, but I'm just trying to make it right now where I'm at.
Got some
And
big
Trevor,
still, bud.
and Trevor, you were in Oklahoma and obviously had the same goals, right? Eventually, you wanted to take your baseball career as far as you could. What kind of pitcher would you say you were in high school in comparison to where you are now? Like, where have you made the biggest leaps?
Man, in high school, I was really just a thrower. There was no pitching to it at all. I just threw hard and kind of just threw strikes, so I succeeded there. I learned so much from high school to college and now into pro ball that it couldn't even tell you.
And you stayed in your home state to play college baseball at Oklahoma State. Was that kind of the obvious choice right away for you, or what went into the process of ending up in Stillwater?
Yeah, whenever I went on the visit there, I visited both the schools in Oklahoma, and whenever I visited there, I just felt like Oklahoma State was just the best fit for me, just like where I'm from. Like Oklahoma State's a great place. Like felt like it fit where I was from in Oklahoma the best.
And Jake, you went first to Northern Iowa Area Community College. You were a catcher back then, which is something I wanted to talk to you about as well. But at that point, you're a position player. You went to school there, hit 310, I think. I just looked up, and then ended up out in California at Feather River College. So what was the process there to beginning your college career in Iowa and then heading out to California?
Yeah, so in high school, I really didn't have many looks coming out of high school and walked on at Nyack. Kind of came in as like a third string catcher, maybe like a bullpen arm, just because I kind of threw hard. And some injuries happened. I got to play, and then I was starting catching behind the plate in a section game. And then kind of played in the Northwoods, transferred out to California, and kind of learned how to play that California baseball, a little bit slower of a game. But yeah, just it's a process. Everybody kind of has their unique way of going through it.
And then you had a pretty good year at the plate, your second year at Feather River, and then came back as a pitcher for the final year there. What were those talks like that led you to transition to being a pitcher, which obviously has turned out to be a good decision for you?
Yeah, I kind of knew all along that like pitching was going to be the end game, but I had so much fun catching and hitting yet where I wanted to keep that going as long as I could. I was originally going to go to a 4-year before being drafted as a two-way,
Sure.
Southern Illinois University. But the Rays took me as a pitcher. So that last year at Feather River, I dabbled in a little bit of both. But definitely my pitching was a lot stronger.
And Trevor, at Oklahoma State, you were, for the most part, a reliever, right? You worked a lot out of the bullpen. You made some starts here and there. And now with the Rays in professional baseball, at least last year, you were primarily used as a starter. So is that something that you've enjoyed, is being more of a starter? Did you like the bullpen role where you knew that you might pitch any night, or what kind of is your experience in those two roles?
I definitely enjoy starting more. I feel way better in the starting role. When I got to Oklahoma State, like they kind of just had some starters that had some like had been there for a year or two, had like been starting for a couple years. So like I kind of fell back into the pen. I threw out the pen. I learned how to do all that, and I was successful doing that too as well. But I definitely enjoy starting the most, and I hope I plan on continuing it.
Absolutely. I think that's a pretty common sentiment among pitchers, is you like kind of the regular plan of, this is what I do this day, and I know I'm going to pitch again in 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah.
Did you have any good nicknames? And I think Jake knows why I'm asking this, but did you have any good nicknames in college or at any point in your career as a pitcher?
Not that I'm aware of. I can't think of
we can come up with one by the end of today if you want us to.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually, I don't know. Sure, if you want to.
We had one of the good ones we had was Night Colby White when he came here in 2021,
Okay.
and was fantastic. He ended the year at AAA after starting with the River Dogs. And then there's Jake Christianson, who I don't know how I found this, but that at Feather River, and there's going to be a little background necessary here, but they called you Hoser the Closer your last year. And for those who don't know, and I don't think you even necessarily knew at the beginning of the year, hoser is like a word in Canada and Minnesota that kind of means like, hey, guy, like maybe a little more edgy than that, but hoser is kind of that. But they started calling you Hoser the Closer, and there was a pretty good story on how that came about.
Yeah. So obviously being from Minnesota and going to a California school, it's a big change. And for a lot of my friends and teammates out there, they'd never even met somebody from Minnesota nor like heard of it. But yeah, all my California teammates and buddies, they were like, hey, hoser, and it just kind of stuck. And then obviously when I started pitching, and being a closer out there, they were like Hoser the Closer. So
it's not bad. There's worse nicknames.
Absolutely.
Trevor, as you got to the end of your college career and got drafted by the Rays, a lot of people have said, first of all, if you're a pitcher, the Rays is a great organization to end up with, and obviously that's who you have experience with, so you would probably agree. You don't know how it is necessarily in other farm systems aside from what you hear from friends and old teammates, but were the Rays somebody that you felt like were going to select you in the draft, or did it kind of surprise you?
I mean, I don't feel like I kind of knew a little bit. Like I didn't know a whole lot going into the draft. It was kind of just like everything was kind of hearsay going to the draft, and then when it came down to it, I got a call from my agent and said the Rays would like to select you, and we kind of talked about how they were a good system, and he thinks it was a good system, and trusted him, and so I was like, yeah, I thought it was a good fit.
And a lot of people have said that, like the baseball draft, you don't get necessarily a huge gathering of people like you see for the NFL or the NBA draft. What were you doing when you got that call? Were you just at home? Did you have people around watching to see where you would end up, or what was that situation?
Yeah, I was at home with my parents. We had it on the TV. We were just kind of hanging out, my parents and my girlfriend, just kind of listening to the TV, just because we knew something could happen that day.
And Jake, did you have any idea that the Rays would be drafting you, or were there teams that you had talked to more and the Rays weren't one of them, or where were they on your list of possible destinations?
I honestly, the Rays were not even in the realm of possibility until like the last couple hours. For me, it was a lot of West Coast teams just because that's where I play college ball. But yeah, I was extremely surprised that the Rays took me when they did.
And what was were you just hanging out at home as well? Or what were you doing when you got drafted?
So I was actually playing in the Northwoods, and I was selected to go to the All-Star game. And the day before, it's like split 2 halves, and our side won the home run derby. I actually hit in the home run derby. And then the next day I was watching the board, a couple of my buddies went, and then when I put my bag down in the clubhouse to get ready to start warming up for pitching that night for the All-Star game, my agent called me. So I was extremely surprised.
Do you remember how many home runs you hit in the derby?
In that derby, it was like 13 in 2 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I had a really good showing.
That was a topic in the dugout during batting practice one day, what pitchers would really do damage in a home run derby. And I think some people said you, Trevor. Would you agree? Is that in your wheelhouse?
I think I could get a few, yeah. I think I still got a few.
You think is there a better chance you hit 10 home runs in 2 minutes or run a 15-minute 5K?
Oof. The 15 minutes, like I didn't know how, like now thinking back on that, I'm just like, I don't know if I could get that in 15. I'm thinking probably the 10.
All right. Were you a decent hitter?
Yeah, but I haven't hit since high school. I hit good there, but I haven't hit since then.
I always thought it's sort of an interesting process, especially for pitchers. When you play a college season, get drafted, obviously the baseball draft is in a weird time compared to other sports when the draft is in the off season. And then you have time to report to camp, and then you kind of ramp up again for a week or two before the minor league season is over. Jake, if you want to start, what was that like going from playing a college season, going to the Northwoods League, getting drafted, having some downtime, and then kind of ramping up again to make 1 or 2 appearances in the FCL?
Yeah, it was really strange because I threw 43 innings in the spring, and in college you start throwing in right about now in January, so I played a full season. I played a half season in the Northwoods. I think I threw 26 innings, and then we had that week off, ramp up, and then I threw 6 innings in the FCL. It was kind of a lot, but the Rays did it in a very good way where they were very careful about us, so it's all good.
And Trevor, was it the same for you? Was it sort of odd playing a long season and then you're kind of done, then the draft happens, and then you figure out where you're going in the country to get ready? Is it Arizona? Is it Florida? And then just to pitch a couple of innings in an actual game, and then you're kind of in the off season again.
Yeah, it was definitely odd. I just kind of continued to throw throughout after the season ended. I went out to Cape Cod for I think 2 weeks right before the draft, so I continued to throw through that, and then after that I kind of took a week off, and then so it wasn't too long. So, but I didn't get as many innings as Jake did in the FCL afterwards.
Is that a good thing? Like, do you enjoy having the baseball? Is it kind of weird if you're not throwing necessarily when you're used to being out there every 3 or 4 days?
I mean, I just like it. I love playing baseball. It's I don't think I could enjoy anything as much as I do that.
And I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, but then when you come back for spring training 2023 before you join the River Dogs, that's sort of when maybe you start to get a little bit more comfortable, right? You had to meet the people you were drafted with, the people coaching you, the pitching coaches, the catchers. Everybody is brand new in 2022, and you get just a short time with them. But is there sort of a more comfortability when you show up the next year for your first full season?
Yeah, because you have you know some faces, some people you can ask. And the Rays are awesome. The Rays are awesome people. So they're everybody in the organization is great.
Same for you, Jake? It felt a lot different this year?
I'd like to touch on that just because we are in a very unique situation where we had to be in Orlando for spring training last year, which was, a big adjustment. So it's almost like this year is our real first spring training that's, really scheduled and planned out. We can play. The teams are around us down there. So it'll be a new year this year as well.
Did you guys both have a feeling that you were heading to Charleston, or how does that announcement get made in camp?
I can answer that. It's kind of old school a little bit. It was like the very last day. They literally put it, like, they printed out the teams, and everything, and like put it on the dugout wall, and everybody like runs from the backfields. It's actually pretty cool. I think there's kind of, you have a feeling of which team you're going to be on and whatnot, but they don't say much to me.
Yeah. Right. Somebody gets a lot said to them, but yeah, you guys probably don't know until it's kind of cool that it is just posted there like you see in the movies, whether somebody made the play or made the varsity team or the JV. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you guys know anything? Had either of you been to Charleston before?
No, I'd never been.
And so had you heard things from other guys that played here in 22 or 21 about what to expect?
Yeah, everyone loved it. And, we got to see why this year. It was a great city, great atmosphere. Loved everything about Charleston.
Yeah, everything I heard, it was like, this is the best place to play minor league baseball in the country.
So you guys get together, and I know that obviously the season didn't start the way you guys wanted, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But looking around, everybody said this should be a really fun team. You've got hitters. X was there. Ryan Spikes was in the lineup. There were a lot of really talented hitters. Chandler Simpson, speed. The pitching staff had all, by and large, thrown well in the FCL in that short time period before that. When you looked around when you got to Charleston, did you guys have the feeling like this is a team that should be a lot of fun, both personality-wise and to actually go win some games?
Yeah. I definitely thought that we would come out and be up there.
Yeah, I attest to that. I thought, we had a lot of prospects on our team, and we were going to do some damage. I think I get what you're alluding to is, the first half there, it was we weren't firing on all cylinders quite yet, and we were losing some, one-run ball games late in the game, and, moving some guys up and, bringing some guys up, whatnot. We didn't make too many changes in that second half, on the pitching side of things, and we really stayed as a core group.
Yeah, I think that was almost compared to the years past where the team had the best record in the league at the halfway point. Almost everybody was gone then by July. This year, everybody was still kind of trying to figure things out in June and July, and then everybody, it felt like at the same time, hit their peak, and everybody was throwing really well. Everybody was hitting. They were timely hits, and it felt like all of that clicked because you guys kind of stayed around and got comfortable in Charleston and with each other.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with all that.
Obviously, you're sitting there and you guys have heard, I'm assuming, that the two teams before you won the championship, right? I mean, part of that is on us because we did about a week's worth of back-to-back celebrations and rings and all of that. Is that something that you were aware of? And is there really – some guys said, look, we don't want to be the team that ended that stretch of championships, or does that not really matter?
I mean, you definitely don't want to be the team that ends it. But, I mean, whenever you're doing it, like, you just got to focus. Like, it's such a long season. You got to focus day in, day out. That's why, like, after that first half, turning around the second half, like, having a chance to clinch early and then get all that done and win it again, it was just a cherry on top, I feel like.
I don't know if you guys know this. I think there were only a few coaches left in the clubhouse. We played in Myrtle Beach toward the end of the first half. In last place, and we were leaving, and the clubby Jason there was was saying hopefully we see you guys again in the playoffs because they had already clinched. And Smed was one of the last guys in there, and he turned around and he's like, "Oh, you'll see us again." And I was like, "Man, that's a pretty bold statement right now where the team is at." But, like, he believed every day that you guys were eventually going to figure it out. Perry believed that. Levy believed it. Ronnie believed it. Was that kind of the feeling throughout the clubhouse that you knew at some point if that group stayed together, things were going to click?
Absolutely. I knew it was a matter of time. Personally, I just it was like things were just misfiring here and there. But we all knew, and we talked about it a lot. I remember of just how talented that team was, and just it was just a matter of time.
Same thing for you, Trevor?
Yeah, I completely agree.
And you guys, what's it like watching Chandler Simpson? Because I can tell you what it looks like from up in the press box, 40, 50, 100 feet away. But what is it like sitting in a dugout and watching him do what he does and just run all over the place?
That dude's fast. I've said it all year, and I'll continue to say it. I'd probably just pick off 3 times.
just give him second base on the last one if he gets it.
I mean, I'd rather take my chances the 3rd time than him just go ahead and steal it. Like, at least I got a shot.
Yeah, I like playing against him in like scrimmages and whatnot. Sucks. You have to be so fast to the plate, or you can't mess up. And then watching him, it's like having a superstar out there. It's like Usain Bolt's on the base pass.
And then talking about fellow pitchers, I mentioned that all of you kind of seemed to hit your groove in July and August, and then especially in September. Was there any of that personally for each of you? Trevor, if you want to go first, like, was there something that happened later in the year that you felt, okay, I can go to this when I need to, or I feel really comfortable doing this now?
I just kind of, like, midway through the year, like, I wasn't having the best season in my mind, like, halfway through the year, and then just had a conversation with one of the coaches, and he was just like, if you're going to just throw it, just go down with, like, your best stuff. And, like, I wasn't doing that at the time, and I started doing that, and I felt like if I just continue to do that the entire season, no matter where we were at, I'd rather do that than go down, like, not throwing what I've got,
Right. Jake, same for you. I know you were in the bullpen to start the year primarily, and then you were going back and forth, and then you ended up being in sort of a piggyback situation with Johnny Cuevas. And it felt like both of you kind of snapped at the same time that everybody was going well, and that was a day that I know that all the coaches said when they're throwing, we feel like we're going to have a pretty good shot to win.
Yeah. I think there was only, when him and I were working together, I think we lost 1 or 2 games, and it was like a 1-run game, But yeah, I have a lot of comfortability in the bullpen. I showed that early. I think I had an 18 scoreless inning streak out there.
Yep.
And they gave me a shot at the start and roll, and I loved it. But definitely the bullpen is where I feel most comfortable. And I think, Johnny was working on a few things there and really figured it out, and felt really good. And I think him and I, we just were like, hey, it's our day today. Every day that we came to the field and we knew it was our day, we're going to go out there.
I remember he did this, like, he was hitting velocities that he had never hit before in August after taking like a week off. They skipped his spot in the rotation, worked on some things, and he came back and was throwing harder than he had. I think Cade did the same thing. He went up to Bowling Green, came back, and then he showed up and he was throwing 97, 98. Is that kind of cool to see from guys that you spend a lot of time with where all of a sudden they're doing something and you're like, man, that looks a little bit different today?
It's always awesome to see, no matter who it is, really.
Oh yeah. It's really special when you see your friends out there, just like crushing their goals too,
Yeah, absolutely. And one more guy I wanted to ask you about individually was Yoniel Kuret. When early in the year, he struggled with his command, and he would tell you that. But when he was throwing strikes, which he did for the final part of his time in Charleston. Like, how much fun is that to watch? A guy who has all the talent in the world who is executing and nobody can really do anything about it.
I mean, he just demolished guys. Like, it wasn't even a fair fight at that up there.
Yeah, I remember I had gone to the DR this time last year before spring.
Okay.
I threw with him for 2 weeks straight, and we'd be throwing pole to pole, and he wasn't like running into it and pulling it down. It was effortless. I knew he was gonna have a good season. But seeing him go out there and just throw fastballs right past guys and they knew it was coming, it was electric.
Do you guys learn a lot about how to attack a team from watching the other guys in the rotation? Again, you guys spend a ton of time together, and this year more so than a lot of years, you guys were the same 12 to 15 pitchers who had time to watch each other. Like, was there somebody on staff? Obviously, Jake, you worked with Johnny a lot, either before or after him, so maybe that's an obvious answer. But is there somebody for both of you that you felt like you could watch and how they attacked a team or how a team handled them, it then allowed you to have a game plan?
Yeah, definitely. Like, definitely, even watching Jake, like if Jake threw before me, like we always did the chart. So like you could see just especially like our stuff kind of plays similar. So it's definitely nice to be able to watch those games and chart and see what they're not hitting, so you can repeat it later on in the week.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that. I think Trev, I, and Johnny, we had a 2-day split, so we would always watch each other. Getting ready to face whoever we were playing. And I would always watch Trevor because we both have high vert fastballs. We have kind of pro slider and whatnot. But yeah, that would kind of be the lead up going into it. And obviously Johnny would tell me when we'd switch, he would be like, hey, the umpire's zone's a little up today, or it's a little down. So we always would have constant communication.
I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, but we'll start. Trevor, what did you enjoy about watching Jake pitch?
Just like he threw a lot of strikes. I don't think how many people did you walk this year? What, like?
Not a lot.
He always gets he's always filling up the strike zone no matter what. Like he'll have innings where it's like I think he had a couple 3-pitch innings this year. Like I felt like you just threw a ton of strikes, just filled it up, and like you'd get like a pop up, or a punch out, ground out, like super quick, super fast innings when he was rolling.
And then flip that, Jake. What did you enjoy about watching Trevor go to work?
So while I'm watching Trevor, trying to study how to attack these batters, I'm sitting right next to Marcus, and no matter what, we always said Trevor's going to get his strikeouts. No matter what, Trevor always had his 8, 10, however many it was. He always got his punchies through his 5-6 innings. Had an awesome day every time he went out there.
And obviously the pitching rotation was huge in you guys making it to the postseason. So when that day happened and we were able to clinch a playoff berth, was that kind of a cool moment because of how low the lows were in the first half when guys just were missing one pitch or one big hit, or one pitch here got away and the other team had a big hit? Like, did that make it kind of enjoyable to go from last place to into the playoffs?
Yeah, it's just fun to win. Whenever you go out there, that's all I want to do is just win. And that first half, definitely it's tough, but especially the half is definitely a great time to kind of reset. And then we came out and reset. I think everyone did, and we tore it up in the second half, clinched, and ended up eventually getting the third trophy there in Charleston.
And you guys go into the playoffs. Myrtle Beach had been a really good team. There's not really rivalries in minor league baseball, but if there was, it would be Charleston and Myrtle Beach because played in the playoffs the last 2 years. They've been a really good team, and in the end, you guys have found a way to get past that hurdle. Having game one here at home, Trevor, you had the start in that one, and you guys get a 2-1 win in a really tight, closely played game. How much of an honor was it for you, first of all, to have the ball in Game 1 of the playoffs, knowing that the coaches lined you up for that game?
I mean, it's awesome. It's definitely helps your confidence whenever you know that the coach is able to hand you the ball for the first game, because I feel like that's a big game going into that series. And so yeah, just took that confidence into the game, and just being there all season, playing Myrtle Beach, like I've seen them all season, so like I know what they're going to be like. I know what they're going to do. I know what their tendencies are, and like they had a couple new guys that had came in, and that was really just my big thing, is how to attack those new guys that were in the lineup for me, because I knew what they had all the way down throughout that. After that.
And unlike college baseball, when you're going to get big crowds if you make it to the regionals and the super regionals, minor league baseball, it's tough to draw because these games aren't on the schedule. And I've said this as long as I've been here, Charleston in the playoffs wows me every year. Like, it's a fantastic environment, and it's got to be great for you guys because you want to pitch with that type of environment on a much larger scale someday in the big leagues. But do you try to block that out, Trevor? You're on the mound in Game 1, or is it kind of eye-opening once people start rolling in, it's the second or third inning, the lights are on, and there's 5,000-6,000 people here?
I mean, yeah, I don't really try and tone it out, I guess. I kind of like am a hyper-focused person. Like, I'll be talking to somebody, if I get on my phone, like, I'll just, like, completely forget because I just, like, hyper-lock in. I feel like whenever I just throw, I don't ever hear anything. So that's kind of what it is for me.
And then, Jake, you didn't throw that day in Charleston, but so what's it like from the bullpen or the dugout to take in that atmosphere as guys are making big pitches in a really close game, the crowd's into it until the final out?
I remember that game specifically. It was like everything that needed to happen was happening for us. It was also happening for them, honestly. It was really
right.
a game. It was like, I remember that game specifically because it felt like I was watching like an MLB playoff game. It was like St. Louis Cardinals, like, we will see you tomorrow night. Like, it was that kind of atmosphere. It was pretty cool.
And then it was a weird atmosphere that we hadn't really seen in Charleston because of the way that the team had dominated the two previous years. The second game in Myrtle Beach didn't go. Everything that you didn't want to happen kind of went. Their pitching staff was great that day, had a lot of strikeouts, and so that sets up sort of a weird spot, which fans probably don't know. We had our bags packed because we were out of the hotel. If we lost, we were coming back to Charleston. If we won, we were going to stay one more night and then bus to a city that we weren't sure. Was it going to be Kinston or was it going to be somewhere else? Or Zebulon, North Carolina, if the Carolina Mudcats won. And it was kind of a weird day. You could sense some nervous tension, like we have to win or the season's over. But how confident were you that you guys were going to get it done?
I'll take that because I knew I had to pitch that day. That was a really tough one. Me and Johnny were locked in. You know, I think there was a silence, you know, in the clubhouse, but it was like a locked in silence. Like, hey, we got to do our job today. But yeah, going into Smed's office with Johnny to, you know, run through how we were going to attack guys, we were pretty certain that we were going to get it done.
And you ended up throwing really well that day, but, you know, it's also nice to take the mound with a bit of a cushion. And boy, did the bats show up that day. I think by the time you got out there, you just knew you needed to throw strikes and you were going to be able to get enough outs to move on to the next series.
Yeah, I think it was 5-2 when I came in the fourth, I want to say. Or maybe, yeah, I think it was 5-2. And I knew I knew I literally just needed to fill up the zone and throw strikes, you know. But also I had my best stuff that day. I was up in velo, you know, slider was playing great, splitter was playing great. I had everything. So yeah, that was a special day.
And that set up kind of a weird day. Down East ends up winning, so we go back to Kinston. It was a Sunday afternoon. There was the rain delay where it didn't really rain. Just kind of a weird atmosphere, it felt like. especially when you compared that to what you guys knew was going to be waiting for you back in Charleston, right? But how big was it after the rain delay? Cooper Kinney is able to take a walk with the bases loaded. There's a big hit. You guys have the lead, and you come back knowing you get 2 shots in Charleston and you need 1 win.
Yeah.
Huge.
And then, obviously, it's your turn in the rotation again, Trevor, and you both pitched in that final game. First of all, you go out and do your job in the top of the first, and then what the guys did for you in the bottom half had to feel great to come back on the mound with a big lead.
Yeah, after getting through my top half of the first and then their bottom half of the first, how many runs they put on, I just knew I could go out there, and we had so much momentum on our side. I could go out there, throw strikes. Defense is back behind me. That just keep the ball in the park, and it'll be fine. We're going to win that game.
And I will say this: I've heard this ballpark get loud a lot, but when Raudelis Martinez hit the home run, and Smed and I talked about this, we thought that he might never touch home plate because he went like toward the dugout, and then he thought he might end up on the warning track. But when he hit that ball, first of all, I thought he deserved some credit for the energy he brought, Raudelis Martinez, when he joined the team midway through. So if one of you can touch on that. But that moment, like, I know you were in the zone, quote unquote, Trevor, and Jake, you knew you might be pitching later, but was that kind of the moment maybe you think about besides the final out of the championship?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I was on the bench for that. I had no idea I was going to pitch that day. And when he hit that and bat flipped it, it was, our Latins play with so much passion too. It just, it brings that energy to the entire stadium.
And Trevor, do you let yourself like get too high in the dugout when somebody hits a ball like that and the crowd's going nuts, or do you have to kind of calm yourself down and stay level?
I mean, I feel like I'm kind of pretty much how I am right now in the dugout, even when I'm throwing.
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that is again, that's a moment that'll stick with me for a long time. And then Trevor, you get the job done, and Jake takes over. It's got to feel pretty good handing him the baseball with the lead.
Yeah, definitely. Because, like I said earlier, Jake, I knew what Jake's going to bring. He's going to throw strikes. He's going to keep the ball in the ballpark. And if you did that at that point in time of the game, we were going to win.
And so you get the call that it's your time to warm up, and they're probably not going to get you up if you're not going to throw, right? So what goes through your mind? How excited were you to get that opportunity one more time with the River Dogs in a championship run?
Yeah, being on 2 days rest, throwing 3 high intense innings, I was in the dugout, right? And then I remember that, they said, hey, you got to go warm up. I just knew, we had the lead and everything. Trevor and I's stuff plays very similar. I just had to be in the zone. I think I gave up 1 run, but we got out of that inning, and then we got Cade in the game. And we knew it was a done deal.
Yeah, it was pretty good once you guys were finished to have Cade and then Rosario, the way he was throwing at the end of the year. Like, it felt like – and it did get closer than you guys might have preferred. But he blows that fastball by the final hitter, and then it's pandemonium. You just sprint to the center of the field. Like, what is that like? Have you guys experienced a championship in a dog pile before, or where does that one rank up for you guys early in your baseball career?
You can take it, Trev.
I mean, it's pretty far up there. I had never done anything like that previous. I'd been close. We never won it, so it was definitely something new for me. It's definitely exciting.
Yeah. I think I won a 12U state tournament.
There you go.
So winning your championship for your first year in minor league baseball, that is extremely special.
All right, I just got a couple of fun questions for you guys before we let you out. More of a rapid fire, if you have something funny to say it. But I have to ask you, working with our grounds crew and Kevin Coyne, who's from St. Paul. Also, I interned there at the start of pro baseball. Have you ever had Snuffy's Malt Shop?
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah, it's
fantastic place. And I told them I was going to ask you that, but that used to be right next to where I lived in St. Paul. I ate far too much at Snuffy's Malt Shop.
That's all right. That and Mickey's Diner. Mickey's Diner is also.
There you go.
Yep.
I've dabbled there. All right, 2023 River Dog with the best style.
Best style, probably CC. Probably CC. Or
yeah, I'd say CC. He definitely always had the style.
I got a sleeper, Trev. How about Ayala with his cleats?
Yeah, Ayala did always have the fresh kicks on. But, I mean, CC kind of had it all. He had the kicks. He had the sleeves, the chains. He never forgot
it. True.
Who is the funniest guy on the 2023 River Dogs team?
Hartman
yeah, I'd have to say Hartman. Jack Hartman.
Boy, I hope he doesn't see this. Because I just don't want him, to get a big head.
Got to get him on here.
Yeah, he would have some interesting things to say. I promise you that. He might not be as nice as you guys either. That's the best part about it. Best singer.
Me.
All right.
Really? Are you gonna give us a little bit right now?
No, I don't sing publicly.
Oh, okay. It's just private moments. Sure.
Yeah, just private shower singer.
Do you agree with that take?
Yeah, I have only heard him once. But
what did you think of Spikes and X doing the Boats and Joe's song?
Wow.
Classic.
Wow, that's a pretty good descriptor. Just wow.
Wow.
When that was go ahead.
No, you, please.
I was going to say, when that was on the Jumbotron, we were all cackling.
Joe's.
The funny part is neither of them had ever seen the movie, so they had no idea what that was.
That's like I feel like it's almost unbelievable that they had never seen the movie.
Yeah.
Like, not that they did the thing, the Boats and Joe's song, but more like they just didn't see the movie. How have you not
they
seen
had no clue.
Brothers?
Right. I would have felt like on a bus somewhere that would be something they would have been able to do.
Yeah. I mean, you got enough time.
We talked to earlier Jack Snyder about the bus game Mafia, and he was the guy. But who this year was the key player on the ever popular bus game Mafia?
Time out. I was in junior college for 3 years. That's
your specialty?
That's all me. That's all me. Trev, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, you and Mike kind of ran it. I was kind of in and out on Moff. Sometimes I'd rather just sit there, watch the movies.
Yeah, true.
You know who a guy is that always, I thought last year, even in 22, Ayala, when he talks, he usually has something important to say as it relates to the game. Whether he's right or wrong, he believes that it's crucial information.
Yeah, I can recall a couple games where he had us beat there.
Somebody else that you maybe got to watch pitch that you would like to have something that they have in your arsenal?
Correct fastball. It's unhittable.
Who's fastball?
Correct.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. All right, but how about Hartman's slider, cutter, whatever it is?
Yeah, that thing's good.
Yeah.
So if you could combine those two, you're cooking with grease then.
Yeah, it's
pretty much.
And then maybe lastly, who is one hitter in the Rays system or that you've played that you would love to get a chance to go one-on-one with?
See, I had this chance before the season started. I got to go against the whole lineup, so I don't really have – I already faced them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every hitter that I've asked that question has chosen Cook. they want to hit off of Alex Cook.
Oh man, I need one more fair shot against Chan. I think I beaned him once, and then he had a drag bunt against me. It was we need a real at bat, me and Chan.
I do got to face Ryan Spikes again. I gotta get back.
Why? What happened?
He took me deep before the season started. Really kicked off my season.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Obviously, you're starting to ramp up towards spring training, but enjoyed getting to know both of you and watching you pitch and having a lot of success on the mound, and wish nothing but the best going forward. Thanks again for tuning in to 3Pete After Me. Thanks to Jake and Trevor for stopping by on this week's episode. Make sure you continue to comment. Let us know who you want to hear from on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We've seen your recommendations already. We appreciate those, and we're working on fulfilling them. Can't wait to bring you some special guests again in the very near future. Have a great weekend.